too many of us are are looking for the hacks or the shortcuts in life. All right, what's the 3 hacks to do X, Y, and Z, right? And you know what? I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of, hey, here are 3 hacks to do this. But the difference. There's a difference. The hacks in terms of like leveraging someone's knowledge, right? Those who have paved the way for you, right? Standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Like, there's a difference between leveraging someone's expertise, i.e., a hack, and putting it, and then not putting in the work, right? Having this magical thinking that the results are just gonna kind of take care of themselves without the work, right? But in general, many of us are looking for those hacks, right? We want the weight loss without having to give up certain foods or giving up alcohol, right? We want the strength, we want the black belt, we want whatever this is without putting in the work. And I always, I think I've done a couple of posts on this, but I always ask people a question around, let's say, like, especially if someone's struggling, right? Like, man, how come I haven't attained? How come I haven't lost this weight, or how come I haven't gotten to my blue belt or my purple belt? Like, enter whatever. How come I haven't gotten to enter whatever that is? It's like, okay, well, let's do a thought experiment. So I'll say, look, let's do a thought experiment. What would happen if I snapped my fingers right now and you had that result? What would happen if I snapped my fingers and you had the weight loss? Or what would happen if I snapped my fingers and you were the black belt or the blue belt, or whatever progression it is that you're like, well, I don't understand why I don't have that yet. If I were to snap my fingers and you had that result, would you be able to maintain that result? Would you be able to maintain it and continue to build on that? Would you possess the characteristics and the traits to continue to be that person? The answer is probably going to be no. Right, that's why you see so many of these athletes that make all these millions of dollars, and then after they get out of the NFL or the professional sports, they're broke in like less than 10 years. You see the same thing with people that win the lottery, right? If I snapped my fingers and you're a jiu-jitsu black belt, and then you get on the mat, but you haven't put in the work, you're gonna get smoked, right? Because there's a saying in the martial arts world, and I believe I heard this on a video with Teddy Atlas, who is one of the trainers of Mike Tyson. He said, "The ring is the chamber of truth." The same goes for jiu-jitsu and deadlifting a barbell, right? The mat, the platform, is also the chamber of truth, right? You're either a black belt or you're not. You can either lift the weight or you can't, right? So if I were to snap my fingers and you became a black belt today, but you were exactly who you were today, ask yourself, do you possess the characteristics, the habits, the discipline to be the black belt, to deadlift the weight? Do you have the habits, the characteristics to keep that weight off? I think it was there was an older movie. It's called Dangerous Minds. And she's a substitute teacher, and she gives the students an A day one. Day one, they have an A in class, and they're all freaking out. Like, these are all inner city kids. And like, what, you're going to give us an A? She goes, yeah, giving you the A, that's the easy part. Keeping it is the harder part. Do they possess the characteristics, the habits to maintain that A or build on that A? Take it from A to an A+. Right? And so the same thing when it comes to, building anything significant, to growing a deadlift. And that's just kind of how I look at this challenge that I'm on right now, this 30 days of deadlifting and beyond. What, if I continue to do this, all right, the mat, the platform is the chamber of truth. Okay, the mat never lies. The platform never lies. To be a better man, to be a better husband, to be a better father, you need to do the hard things in life, right? This is what I call lifting the weights, right? Lifting the weights both metaphorically, right? Doing the hard things in life, and literally getting on the platform and deadlifting the bar, swinging the kettlebell, pressing the kettlebell, like whatever journey it is that you're on. Getting on the mat, putting the time in, you've got to lift the weights, right? You've got to do the hard things in life. And, St. John Paul II once said that the sports is the training ground of the virtues. Sports is the training ground of the virtues. So true. You learn so much about yourself through sports. You're going to learn so much about yourself if you decide to take up the journey of jiu-jitsu. You're going to learn so much about yourself deadlifting a barbell. Another reason why I'm doing this challenge. I know it's going to tax me physically, but what is it going to do to me mentally? Am I going to want to quit? Am I going to want to give up? Am I going to want to shift and change to something else because it got hard? To be successful in life, to be successful on the barbell, to be successful in jiu-jitsu, you must have faith in your abilities, right? You have to trust yourself. So many times we just don't trust ourselves. So many men today are living a life of indecisiveness. They have to talk to their wife. Well, let me talk to my wife. Let me run it by her first. The problem with that is, it's all good to want to include your wife on certain decisions, but here's the thing, dude. You're pawning the decision off on her now. She now has to help you make your decisions. And deep down in her feminine, deep down in her feminine energy and at her core, that builds resentment. Too many men today live a life of indecisiveness because we don't trust ourselves, right? So the training ground, sports is a training ground of the virtues, right? You have to have faith in your abilities. You have to trust yourself that you're going to be able to do the work. And faith requires courage. A very masculine virtue, courage. Okay? I mean, think about it. It takes courage to step up to the barbell. I mean, you're putting yourself in a pretty compromised position, right? It takes courage. I mean, I've had many days when I finally attained that 290 kilo deadlift. I had many days in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, this next set, this could be where I snap my spine in half. Because there was a time when, man, the volume was just crazy high. I mean, there was a time in one of the training cycles I was in. I just pulled 290 kilos. I rested for a few weeks, and I was right back on the grind because my goal was to get as close to 700 as I could before the end of the year. And it was April. And so there was a point where the average weight that I was lifting was 230 kilos. So there was nothing below 507. Everything was 507 and above for reps. Sets of 3, sets of 5 with 507. That's insane. And there were days when I was like, I think this is the day that I might snap my spine, right? It takes courage to step up to that barbell, to step up to the plate, as the cliche that we hear. It takes courage to step on the mat and to put yourself in a vulnerable environment. And if you ever take up jiu-jitsu, if you do jiu-jitsu and you're listening to this, or if you're considering getting into it, bro, you will be vulnerable. You will submit to another man. A very hard thing for men to overcome as far as the ego goes, right? There's so many guys that just can't handle it. They can't handle knowing that they have to submit to another dude. But it takes courage to step into that vulnerability. Too many men today are just numb and disconnected emotionally because they don't want to be vulnerable because they see it as weakness. Dude, vulnerability requires courage. Again, a very masculine trait, very masculine virtue, right? Because here's the thing, like I said, you will submit to another man. You will fail at the barbell. There will be times where you miss lifts, and you have to be okay with that. And doing that voluntarily, knowing that you're going to submit to another guy, doing that, knowing that there's someone better, quicker, stronger, faster than you, knowing that you can fail at one of these barbell lifts or what have you, knowing and doing this voluntarily requires courage. It takes courage. It's a very courageous thing to do, right? It's going through the things people aren't willing to go through is what makes you resilient in this life. It's what creates anti-fragility. You have to embrace the pressure and bust through those plateaus. The barbell and jiu-jitsu are things that I can control in my world. In this video, you see, I have complete control over this. I mentioned this in one of the earlier videos of this series. Think about this, right? The diet, the eating, the strength training, like this is all controllable stuff, right? You can't control the weather. You can't control what your boss is going to do. Like you can't control all these other circumstances. If I can't control what's controllable, deadlifting the barbell, showing up for jiu-jitsu, eating good foods, if I can't control that, then what? Like, how am I going to respond when the uncontrollable happens? If I can't control what's controllable, I become fragile. And then when the uncontrollable happens, I'm going to be crushed. If I can't control the controllable, I'm screwed. So screwed. And that's what I love about the iron game, man. That's what I love about the barbell. That's what I love about lifting my kettlebells. That's what I love about the tatami, right? It's what we call the jiu-jitsu mat. That's what I love about the tatami. That's what I love about getting on the mat. Is I have control. I don't have control if I'm going to get tapped out or not, but I have control of my effort, right? I mentioned this the other day. I have 100% control of my effort and my attitude. There are no shortcuts. There are no hacks. Okay? You've got to get your reps and your rounds in, which is why I'm doing, some would consider this a lot of volume. Sets of 3, 5, 3, I think 3, 4, 7 was my first ladder that I did when I opened up this series. Pretty soon I'm going to be getting ready to go into 2, 3, and 5, but at a higher weight. I'm doing it because I got to get my reps in. I got to get my round. In jiu-jitsu, I've got it to show up as the black belt, right? I mean, like I mentioned the other day, I got my 3rd degree black belt. That's a target. That is a target on my back. People are going to want to challenge me. They're going to want to push me. They're going to come after me. And that's all of jiu-jitsu. Every belt you get, whether it's blue, purple, it doesn't matter. Your next promotion, your next grade, that's a target on your back. And people are going to come hunting for you. And that's life. When you get a promotion, people are going to come hunting after you to see, are you that person? And in order to step into that, space that you're creating for yourself, you got to get your reps in. You got to get your rounds in. And if you're not all in to becoming a better man mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, if you're not all in on those, you will be beat by somebody who is. Because the mat never lies. The platform never lies. You're either a black belt or you're not. You can either lift the weight or you can't. So that's all I got, man. Appreciate you watching to this point. If you want to learn more about the deadlift, want to learn more about the wedge and setup, check out our free ebook, Deadlift Blueprint. And I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.